I can't believe that I'm about to sit here and White Knight Wonder Woman. Anyway, let the beta male jokes flow, people. Let them flow. I'll be very disappointed if there's not at least 5 of them in the comments sometime tomorrow. By sometime tomorrow. Anyway, um, Stefan Molyneux made a video, the truth about Wonder Woman. First of all, I think that he's just mistaken about some points. And I have to wonder, number one, if he's ever studied classical mythology. Um, Maybe not. I really don't think so. I mean, the he throws in, the character was created in the 1940s, with the red, white, and blue, all that. He just kind of throws that in as an aside, right? And I get it. I get it completely. He wants people to actually believe that he's studied the mythology, which I highly doubt. Um, yeah. So, because if he would have studied the mythology, in my opinion, in my view, basically, there's a couple of things you have to remember about European mythology. The idea of self-sacrifice was that was an act solely for the king. That was an act in which basically, the king dies, the god dies, and the god is reborn. It's like your basic sun worship, right? The sun disappears, there's the night, it comes back, the solstice, all that stuff. The sun is at its greatest strength in the middle of summer. It's, royal, it's powerful, it's the lion, it's the dog days of June, whatever, right? And then during the winter, it basically dies. You have the longest night of the year. And then the next day, the sun is born and it starts going back up to where the sun is, where it's daylight most of the year. All this stuff can be explained astrologically. Because what you had with classical European mythology is primitive man trying to understand the cycles of life, the cycles of reality. Now, the idea was that you would have the noble king who needs an equal, which would be the queen, right? The god has the goddess, they're equals. They're on opposite sides of the spectrum, but they're still equal. Now, yes, both male and female have a dark side and a light side. Steve Trevor, the light side, kingly aspect of the male energy, and you have Aries, the tyrant asshole of the male energy. Now, Gal Gadot was basically the queen aspect of the female energy. Also, I want to point out when they do get to the to Steve's world, right? They basically what's acknowledged is, yeah, it's grimy, it's dirty, it's smoky, it's industrious, etc. Right? And that's because, I mean, women. Let's face it, women are passive. Women are passive. As far as energetic, I know I'm gonna get shit from feminists, but I don't really give a crap. Men are the active ones. Men are the ones that are going out there and hunting and doing all that stuff, right? And yeah, women have a warrior aspect, and just like men have a caregiving aspect. And yeah, we know this if we've studied psychology. We know this if we've studied mythology. We know this if we've studied human nature. That's reality. So you see that, and I'm not sure when most people pick up on it, but it's pretty easy to pick up on it in the movie that Steve Trevor is Wonder Woman's equal in some ways, as far in so much as morality, right? He's got the idea of doing what's right, doing anything to do what's right. He's the more logical. He's the, you know, he's the man, he's the scientist, he's, the adventurer, right? And he's basically, if you follow, let's see, where's that book that I have, Writer's Journey? I knew spending all that money on screenplay books would come in handy. This one, Writer's Journey. Mythic structure. I encourage anybody who, it's not just for writers, it's for anybody who wants to understand basic mythology, what's called the hero's journey, and Wonder Woman is on her hero's journey. If you look at the hero's journey, she has the call to adventure. Let's see. I'm not sure how well you can see that, right? I'm not sure how well you can see that. And basically, she's got the ordinary world. She's in her ordinary for her. And, Steve Trevor, he's got the ordinary world for him. And their meeting, right, is the call to adventure. And, of course, she has her, Wonder Woman has her fellow women being like, no, you're not going to go, we're not going to let you do this, yada, yada, yada. She does it anyway. She does it anyway. She crosses the threshold. And, yeah, I mean, let's see, the resurrection climax, that's when basically she discovers who she is. She discovers that she is the God Killer. Likewise, the God Killer is the Goddess Killer. I mean, men, we see it, and I mean, especially today. We have the dark side of the masculine and we have the dark side of the feminine, basically trying to beat the shit out of each other constantly. And, who benefits from that? I think we need to be asking that question. The globalists sure as hell benefit. Because right now we have highly feminine men and highly masculine women, and they want nothing to do with each other. Are you going to get any children out of that shit situation? Fuck no. Fuck no. Who benefits? Now, as far as the return with the elixir, that is she's in the new world. She cannot go home again. And that's part of that is because she has this energy, this power, this force within her own thinking, etc., that says, I have to do what I can to help people. That's reality. Now, it's interesting, though, and I thought they did a wonderful job with this. The women that they show, the other two women in Steve Trevor's world are the Poison Lady, which I think they should have killed, but you can't really do that in a movie. I don't recall any movie within really the past, let's see, I'm trying to, I mean, there's a few of them where the female dies, but then it gets like an R rating. I mean, honestly, I'm a 40-year-old man. I could have handled Wonder Woman and Trevor having, a lot of great sex in the boat on the way to his world. I could have handled that. I could have handled her, Wonder Woman, just fucking, taking a fist and just ending the miserable existence of the poisoner. I could have handled that. But that's not the age demographic that they're going for. And it's interesting because the two women in Steve's world, Trevor's world, you get the frumpy, maternal, wants to be helpful, wants to be needed, short, frumpy, frizzy-haired little secretary. And then you get this poisoner, right? And those are two extremes of the feminine energy. Those are very extreme parts of the feminine energy. Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman, was the middle, the perfect balance. Just like Steve Trevor was the perfect balance between the male aspects, right? Because you have Ares, who's... It's interesting because Ares pretended to be the opposite of what he was. Ares, the British person, was all like, oh, we must all be proper and follow the rules and don't be too hasty and blah, blah, blah. So he was very deceptive. So I thought, I mean, the actor did a very good job of portraying two separate characters to a certain degree. Because, Steve Trevor, he's a spy, and which we would call the deceiver, and ultimately Ares, he is the deceiver. He's been deceiving them he's been deceiving the world this whole time. So, yeah. Honestly, because I know what they're gonna do. They're probably gonna make a Wonder Woman 2. I don't know if they'll go back to like the World War II thing. They could. I really hope to God they don't go like some treasure hunting route bullshit, because that would not be correct for the character. Wonder Woman does not seek treasures. She seeks to make the world a better place. That's reality. I mean, as far as a depiction of World War One, that was a great depiction. I mean, it really was a really good depiction of the world as it would have been during World War One. So I thought that was really good. Now, as far as Steve Trevor blowing up the plane, Stefan Molyneux complains that he could have landed it. Well, first of all, is Trevor supposed to, believe? He's the more scientific minded. He's like, I don't know if this Ares bullshit is true, right? If I recall correctly, let's see, does Ares show his powers before he takes off of I think he does, but the thing of it is like, Wonder Woman's on one side of the battlefield, keeping Ares busy. Trevor's running over to the plane to fly it away. But, it's like, what if she fails? Yeah, he blows it up in the sky, which I feel bad about. I would have, preferred that not happen. But, again, the king dies, the king is reborn. Now, whether the king is reborn as, say, I don't know, maybe he somehow escaped, comes back to life or whatever. Because it's a comic book, it's a fantasy, remember? It's not real. But then again, Wonder Woman has quite a few male sidekicks. I would, here's the thing though. You could easily make the argument, because in the comic books, the longest relationship that she has ever had is with Bruce Wayne, is with Batman. And so you have to sit there and kind of go, okay, well, how deserving are these men of Wonder Woman? But you also have to ask, how deserving is Wonder Woman of these different men, right? And that's the thing, that's part of our problem in society, is you get these women who, they're the frizzy-haired, morbidly obese, fucking pink-haired lesbian, whatever the fuck they are. And they think that they deserve, well, they're not lesbian, but some of them are, but they're bi-fluid, whatever the fuck. And they think that they deserve Hercules, right? They think they deserve Hercules. They think they deserve Superman. They think that they deserve the king. They're Medusa, and they think that they deserve fucking Zeus. It's like, what the fuck? It's like, what these guys, like us guys, we can sit there and we can laugh at the chode going after a 10, right? Somebody's super beautiful, super famous, super successful. If the bum on the street goes after her, we're kind of laughing like, he does not deserve her, right? We need to do the same thing to women. We need to shame them. We need to be like, oh, you think you deserve the perfect man? What makes you so deserving? Do you deserve? Most likely, no, you don't. Go to your own level. Go to your own level. Most people don't want to, because they don't want to face their own shadows. They don't want to face who they are. They don't want to face their darkness or light. They don't want to face any of it. They want to live in a fantasy world where they're, where they're the fucking god and goddess or whatever. Now, you could make the argument that Steve Trevor and the other men and Bruce Wayne follow the archetype of the heroic male. And the male does not just magically sprout as king. He has to work for it. King Arthur had to work for it. Alexander the Great had to work for it. All these men who become the god, or all these women who become the goddess, they have to work for it. It's not handed to them. If it gets handed to them, it's going to be a disaster. We know this from mythology. We can see it from history. Because with great power becomes great responsibility. Most people don't want the responsibility. And we see in the movie even, Steve Trevor talks about how, duty, honor, responsibility, very, very ancient concepts, right? Now, I do disagree with, male disposability. Just because somebody's a man does not mean they're worthless. Just because somebody's a woman, does not mean that she has to have her life spared. I mean, honestly, yeah, I mean, if it was like, it's like PG or PG-13. I think it's PG-13, right? I may be mistaken, but it's PG-13, meaning your 13, 14-year-old can go see it, whatever. There's not going to be any weird shit. Me, I would have made it a lot more grown up. I would have, because there's like the Superman Batman version of Batman, and then there's, the fucking Dark Knight Heath Ledger, Christopher Nolan Batman that is fucking dark, right? Really dark and gritty. You could do the same thing with Wonder Woman. You do the exact same thing with Wonder Woman. But that's not their audience. I definitely would have put some like romance in there. I definitely would have the female poisoner. I mean, come on. Pick up that fucking tank and just fucking smash it down on that cockroach. Just do, because here's the thing. Sorry, I did that with my tongue. That's one to put on repeat as a JPEG. I'm giving you this shit, guys. Don't be afraid to use it. Don't be afraid to use it. Anyway, I'm not going to be butthurt. So, this is a horribly long video. Yeah, I thought it was a really good movie. It's interesting that they've kept her in London, but that kind of makes sense. I mean, it's obviously not our world as far as the DC universe, right? Because, in the DC universe, if there were Muslims attacking London, I'd think Wonder Woman would acknowledge the hordes as they are and fucking, lay waste to a few hundred of them. That's reality. I mean, if I wrote the DC universe, there'd be some changes. There'd be, yeah. And they're gonna keep all that stuff in the past. And they're gonna do the, it's so far removed from reality. Because, I mean, here's the reality. If there really was a Superman, or a Batman, or a Wonder Woman, or anything like that in the universe, or in the world, there would be such a temptation to just basically declare martial law and say, done with the bullshit. You fuckers can't govern yourselves. You're going to be governed. I mean, honestly, seriously, if I was Superman, one of the first things I would do is go fucking tear down the North Korean regime single-handedly. Second thing I do, fucking level Mecca. I mean, just fucking it's like, oh, you like your little black cube that you want to pray to five times a day? Here, you know, maybe you'll catch up to it when it's, orbiting Jupiter. That's something like that, right? Um, so yeah, I mean, you've got to look at movies within the universe there, and you have to basically suspend your disbelief. And I know it's difficult, but when you look at, and I think I've said this before, but I'll say it again in closing. Every individual has masculine and feminine energy. Everybody has various degrees of it, and feminine energy as well as masculine energy has a dark side and a light side. And it depends on which you feed. You feed it with, ideology, music, art, etc. So, the emotions are also aspects, right? So, the thing of it is, it's like you want to be worthy of somebody. Make yourself worthy. Don't just sit there and, I mean, and that's the reality of it. Is when I watched it, I saw the goddess Wonder Woman and the god Steve Trevor. I saw something mythological. I saw a story being told that is as old as time. I saw two heroic people, male and female, tearing down and destroying, uh, you know, the the dark side, the dark aspects, male and female. And again, I understand, we've got a society today that, it wants to, anytime a woman does something wrong, it wants to handle her with kid gloves and not give her moral agency. That needs to fucking change. That definitely needs to change. Because Wonder Woman, she's definitely about justice, right? And, if you're gonna sit there and murder a million people, well, okay, your life is kind of forfeit. That's reality. Don't like it? Tough. Oh, you don't want to be killed for killing people? Then don't kill people. That damn simple. So yeah, this was my little white knighting of Wonder Woman. I doubt Molyneux will ever watch this. He'll probably just dismiss it. Ugh, who is this crazy person? Ugh. Anyway, he's not a philosopher. Ugh. Anyway, okay. Uh, stick to politics, Molyneux. Stick to philosophy. Stick to all that good stuff. Leave the classical mythology and superhero comics and film. Leave that to people who are a little bit more studied on it than you. And hey, if you want to, like, what I'd be interested to hear, and here's I'm gonna leave with this. Here's what I would be interested to hear. I would be interested to hear, and I'm she's not old enough, obviously. I would be interested to hear either Isabella's take on Wonder Woman or your wife's take on Wonder Woman from a psychological perspective. I would just love to hear that because I've heard the perspective from whiny beta cucks, and I've heard the perspective from SJW feminist libtards. An actual woman who has some qualities of character. I want to see a video on Wonder Woman from her. Maybe I can get Lauren Southern to do it. I wonder if she would. Also, thumbs up if you want to see Blair White in a Wonder Woman outfit. Yeah.